All right, let's get this Frostside chat started. Hello and welcome to Frostside Chat, our weekly live-streamed post-session discussion where we talk about what just happened during D&D. This is the chat for session 15. So if you don't watch that session yet, please go do that now because there will be spoilers. I am your DM, Eric, and joining me is Vol Robin's player, Chris.
Hello.
Edmund's player, Raymond.
Hello.
So welcome to another session where I had all of this basically planned like last week.
Right.
Because this was the like, hey, I've introduced you to this trapdoor area, which is like the little dungeon area of this thing.
Yeah, we could have gone straight here. We could have just
Sure.
yeah. Well, we would have had to deal with the guards somehow.
Yeah.
But yeah, we could have just dealt with the
guards. This is where Avarice sent us, though, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, this is where Avarice straight up told you, like, hey, if you want to check out this area, where I think he's doing some nefarious stuff.
Okay, so she wanted us to see all that.
Yeah. Which I love the way you guys handled the speaker. The fact that you switched the uniforms and had the speaker join was amazing.
I think that's what got Edmund the MVP seed.
Yeah, for sure.
Was that first
whole
section
interaction.
Where Edmund,
yeah,
Edmund just walked in and just handled that speaker.
Yeah, well, and the flying potion was pretty great too, because that was actually really handy.
Yeah, that worked out well.
Yeah, you were able to. Well, you still ended up splitting the party, which was funny, but you were still able to get around a lot easier and avoid a lot of the Malthor's ground stuff.
Right.
I'm curious. I don't know if we're at that part yet, though, but I know you say like you have nothing planned. You just want us to figure it out. But was a boat too small for all of us? I don't know.
It's just one of those things. It's like, what Chris says is you just throw problems at the players and you try to figure out how they're going to solve these things. And if one of those solutions is like you guys have to split the party temporarily, then you could do that for sure.
Yeah.
But
if things got desperate, I could have misty stepped to that northern hallway.
Yeah,
and then I could have seen the southern hall. I could have misty stepped there. There's solutions to this stuff. But even this one didn't. I wasn't sure if there was like a time crunch. Like it was like, well, could we all just go down go down in the boat and then come back and then
presumably
one comes back and.
But it's funny back. Also having these situations and you alluded to this where you're like, oh, this place is full of undead, where. As a DM, it's funny because you have this area and it feels like it could be a thing, but as a DM, it's not a thing. Yeah. But then you see your players just agonizing over like, oh God, how are we going to do the boat? Like, how are we going to cross this area? Because you don't know what the DM's got planned. Yeah. So it is funny to try and sit back and be like, oh man, there's been a lot of time on this goddamn boat and it really doesn't matter that much.
I think, because the player instinct is like whoever's in the boat is going to encounter whatever the thing is.
Yeah.
Whatever he's got down that hallway, the people in the boat are going to get it first.
Yeah.
The thing is, too, we don't know how long the hallway is.
That's true. We did.
Yeah, it's a pretty interesting little area because it's just darkness when it goes beyond.
Like only at the end do we realize it's a dead end. But what if that was like the way to the next area?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then the other side would just be waiting and waiting.
Mm-hmm.
So I felt like we had to all figure out a way to get together.
That's true. It could have just been
you don't know how long.
Interminable hallway.
How big this area is for sure. That's a good point. Yeah, and that's stuff I don't think about because I have all the information at all times, so it's always tricky for me to be like, all right, think about if you just see this room from this perspective, like what do you see? What are you gonna think about?
Yeah. If you're not looking at it as like a chessboard, you're not looking at the whole thing in total. Yeah. And
same thing with you guys trying to make it to that trap door. Again, it was one of those things where like I don't have a necessary planned route for you all. I do try to script things as much as I can, but I don't. It's up to you guys. How do you get over there? Like, do you use stealth? I like this. To me, the solution was the guard using the speaker in the guard uniform. I was like, that's a pretty good solution. If they just end up going through the courtyard with that guard and just telling the speaker and using charisma checks to, as I'm saying, as a way of like convincing the speaker to do all this.
Yeah.
I thought that was a pretty effective way, at least until you got to that actual room.
Was that something you had planned for, or was that a surprise to you?
Which?
The speaker in the guard uniform.
No, that was a total surprise. I thought that was fucking brilliant. Like, that's a great idea. I expected you guys to do what you just did with these prisoners, which is to say, hey, stay here, we'll come back for
That's
you.
what I thought we were gonna do. And
Yeah.
then Raymond, I think you came up with just like that. Like, yeah,
That was-
put on this uniform.
That was
all right. That's great.
Really smart. Yeah, and it's fun for the DM because it's like, oh, I get to interact with the party a little bit now and have fun with this character. So it's really fun when the DM gets a chance to have that kind of character. I kind of, well, I don't know if I misrole-played, but I meant for the speaker to be a way bigger asshole to where...
I got that.
Okay.
Like, at least initially.
Yeah, it's a situation where, like, we're here to rescue you, and he's like, it's about time. Like, he's just a total jerk.
Yeah.
But I think you guys role-played it pretty well, and with all the interactions...
Put a knife to his balls.
Yeah, he put a knife to his balls.
There's only so much of an asshole you can be with a knife to
obviously,
your
I know how you guys operate and how a lot of these parties operate, where you definitely throw your weight around. Even at level 4, you generally know your strength, and it's pretty easy to just intimidate people based on that. And even though he's a high-ranking dude, he does kind of like read the room and be like, okay, and I do want to get out of the situation. So
yeah.
And at some point, like, I can have you keep, which came up later, but I can have you guys keep rolling these charisma checks. I'm like, all right, yeah, this is gonna happen.
Yeah.
I think once you see a man on a pot, then also
his authority is
which is also a little bit of a comedic moment. Right? I pictured him as like the classic, like just I don't know, the dude, or what's another example of somebody that's just...
I kind of got when you were first describing it, I got the Tywin Lannister death scene.
Yeah,
in my head.
That's true. Yeah,
like him literally like sitting on the pot.
Well, but I was also picturing somebody who's like a disheveled, like just wearing a robe kind of a thing is also what he's all about. So that kind of takes away a lot of his power too, because he's obviously just been under house arrest for a while.
Yep.
So yeah, I thought that situation was fantastic. I like the way you guys dealt with the bodies and all that. That was fun. And then I was pretty much just going to have you agonized for a while about how to get over there. And that's when I finally relented about the secret door and all this information. But I was like, I shouldn't have even told them that, because that's really a worse route to go by. But I was receptive, like, all right, if they come up with some schemes or something, let's let it happen. But ultimately, I was like, you guys basically already solved the problem, which is getting there. You've got the speaker as the guard. Unless somebody does something stupid, that's pretty much going to get you there.
Yeah, it was interesting that you gave us that particular bone, because it was kind of a weird, like, okay, do we want to go that way?
I could tell you guys were like, I don't know.
like the way to get to that office was like, there's like 2 guards and a half ogre and what's his name in the office.
In the office,
like,
yeah, that was not a route. But yeah, so you guys can make it to that northwest tower, pretty efficiently.
Yeah, you just kind of let us.
And then it was again another situation where it's like, all right, here's probably, it's just another roadblock where there's actually people in here. This is to turn into a barracks, so now you have to deal with these people. And this was, I didn't have anything scripted here at all. This was purely like, I don't know what's going to happen here. What kind of things are going to use?
What was your like suspicion though? Were you thinking we were going to solve it non-violently, or did you think a fight was going to break out here?
I'm always prepared for a fight, but I'm if you guys are generally playing things pretty smart, making these checks and doing all that, I'm most likely not going to force a fight. And at some point when it was pretty, I think Edmund like shoved somebody back and said, no, we got this. And I was like, oh, I could pull the trigger here. But then I thought, just roll another check, because is this fight actually going to be that fun, or do I actually want to get them into the more interesting area? So it's more like, unless you guys are really fucking up, you're probably not going to have a fight here. I really liked that you finally cast a spell, and like, because there is a fine line between rolling a charisma check and like using a mindfuck spell. Because even though you've got amazing charisma checks, you're still not, you don't have Jedi mind powers. Like, there's only so far. And that's a tricky thing for a DM to adjudicate. You have to really play with that.
I will remind you something before we start next week's session. That dude better not be down here fighting us, because he physically cannot for the next 8 hours.
Yeah, that's true. I did try to pay attention if you lost concentration any time, but you did not, because you did not get involved in that fight.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's true. Again, you don't know, this is all in my DM pocket. You don't know how many forces, is on one side or the other, and what the situation topside even is. So
yeah.
And again, if any of those people like that you passed reported back to Kadroth to mention like what's going on or all that kind of thing. So the point was to get you guys in here, and then I had this kind of scripted event to happen essentially. But so anyway, it could have been a fight. It definitely could have been a fight, especially if Frey like just says, "Oh, I chop his head off" or something. Like, okay, roll initiative. Like, it's definitely a fight happened. I had a funny little event where the speaker like fell on his ass and just kind of fucked things up to where it's like, escalates the situation.
Yeah.
But I think you guys handled it pretty well. You're all rolling, charisma checks, and it's an excuse for the face to show off, basically, again, which is
right. Yes, which I always appreciate, because
yeah,
I know as a DM, what I'm realizing is that you kind of have to give like specific situations for the face to show off.
Yeah. Where it's not just an immediately hostile situation. Like, all right, let me calm down, everybody, and then let's.
Yeah.
So I was like, that's great. All right, we rolled all these good checks. We role played it well. Used a spell. You guys can make it. So essentially, that lets you bypass that fight.
Yeah.
And then we get to this little dungeon area, which is half as written and half modified by me.
Oh.
The half modified by me is obviously the body horror scene, which occurred.
So as written, is there no fight down here?
No.
Wow.
Yeah.
That'd be kind of a boring little mini dungeon then.
Sure would. It sure would. That's what I thought. In fact, it's even more awkward that, I'll go ahead and tell you this, as written, Avarice's chambers is down there in the room I turned into a surgical laboratory. Yeah. So more than likely, you don't never even meet her like in the book. Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, I changed that whole bottom section. All the other rooms were the same. The cistern was the same, where it had the floating, which I thought was cool and creepy, and also, like you said, like I was like, oh, this is an undead situation.
Yeah.
Like there's just bodies, under the water. The wrapped bodies, which I definitely, and having the speaker made it way less confusing. Where he was able to identify the fact that, like, no, I don't know these bodies, but I do know those bodies. So you can tell, like, okay, they dumped the bodies they didn't give a shit about in the water, and then they carefully wrapped their own, anybody that died on their side in these bodies. So because he had the speaker, he was able to identify all that.
Yeah, that would have been, you're right. It would have been much more like opaque without the speaker there. Yeah.
As written, that one room just literally has a rat in it, and I knew as soon as that rat is in there, I was like, I gotta fucking write like what this rat knows.
There's really nothing else in that room. It's just a rat.
It's just a rat. There's a rat eating a sack of grain. It's just an empty room.
That's a weird room.
It's a weird room. It's just empty. Yeah, it's a storage room. It's like almost empty. So I guess it's like a side plot about they're running out of food or something. I don't know.
Okay.
So what I changed was I turned the bottom 3 rooms into like a prison, like a dungeon, essentially, with the 2 prison like rooms and then levers that controlled them. And then Raymond, I guess, figured out or deduced. I don't know if you did or not. I by the way, I love you. God, you did a lot of really smart things this session. The fucking like the spy movie thing where you were like, let's see who, like, it's the keypad, let's see like which levers. Oh, that was fucking clever as hell. Which to me, that was like, okay. And we mentioned via the rat, because I wrote all this information down, like they would be supplying food to the prisoners and their person who slapped on the table. So clearly they would be opening and closing these areas and using them rather frequently. You guys never did open the right door. It's completely empty. It's just an empty prison room. So that's why that one never got opened. Another empty room. So when you slapped both levers, obviously that opens the giant marble slab door, which leads to the east, and then that one prison chamber, which I completely added all of that as just a cool kind of body horror scene, and B, to kind of shed some light on maybe some more not morally questionable stuff that this Kadroth guy is doing.
Yeah.
I did not know, obviously, that the party would be split and there'd be only 2 of you there, which I initially thought, oh, this is great, because there's only 2. That's going to make this fight a lot harder. However, which is totally fair as a player, but as a DM, I was crushed by this, as you guys escaped and shut the door on my cool monster. And when you first said that, I was like, fuck, yeah, you can pull the light. I didn't even think about that. I was like, oh yeah, you can just run away and pull the lever and shut the fucking thing in the door, which is a smart move, and I gave it to you. But if you notice, I made it last another round, because I was like, all right, it's going to take a little bit. I'm going to make it last 1 round as the door reshuts.
I've been there. It's like the most obvious solution you could think of. Yeah. You just didn't, like, why would they do that?
Just disengage from this fight.
Yeah.
It was a smart move.
Shut the whole thing down.
And because you were flying, so it's a neat creature. It's a weird creature. I don't know if we've ever fought this before in D&D, so I was really excited to use it.
Yeah.
And obviously, yeah, I was really excited to like give this description. I was really excited when you guys were like, okay, we're gonna get this body out of here. I was like, here we go, we're triggering the event that's gonna happen. So the Gibbering Mouther is a CR2. It's not super strong. It's got a really low armor class. It's got a lot of hit points. I was like 70 hit points. The ground around it in a 10-foot radius becomes difficult terrain, and if you start your turn in that area, you must succeed on a strength saving throw or be reduced to 0. However, as Edmund reminded me, he was flying, so he was immune to that effect. In addition, if you're if you start your turn within 20 feet of the Mouther, you have to make the Wisdom save, or else you have to roll a D8, and different things happen, ranging from you do nothing to you run a random direction to you attack a random person.
It's the Temporary Madness table, right?
No, it's its own table. It's literally like it literally it's this big paragraph. And it's like, if you fail that whiz save, you do nothing on a 1 through 4, so you have a 50% chance to do nothing. On a 5 through 6, you do nothing, but you have to use all your movement to move in a direction. On a 7 to 8, you have to attack the nearest person.
Yeah.
So it is like a specific form of madness.
Okay.
But Edmund is flying and resisted the madness, so you were able to just grab Frey and get out of there.
Yep.
And it does a shit ton of damage, but it only has a +2 to hit, if you noticed. So it has to. I was hoping to blind people, and then it would have advantage, but it only blinded Edmund in the back, and I thought, well, it's still going to mindlessly attack Frey in the front. Missed. I think it had its first attack. It missed. It missed on the attack of opportunity, and then I had to give it one last attack, and then it missed again. I was like, well, fuck. There goes the Gibbering Mouther. It does 5d6 damage on a hit.
Oh Lord!
It's just a total like super swingy monster. That if it hits you, it's super fucking bad.
A glass cannon, or not even glass cannon. I don't know.
Yeah, it's just really swingy because it has a +2 to hit, but it does so much fucking damage. And then it can use that blinding thing. So I thought it was a cool monster, but you played it really smart. Where you're like, kind of similar to, I gotta watch out for you. Similar to that fucking mushroom area where you like backed out and then put things in there. Like you guys are really like, I don't know, we're tactically sound or just able to retreat and like lay down some more areas.
We got a lot of move. You said this before. We got a lot of movement abilities. We have
That's true.
Very pretty mobile.
Yeah, this thing does not. It has a 10-foot movement. It relies on its things activating its zone of
keeping people in, blinding them. Yeah.
I mean, I will say that my character is different, so I can't be combat oriented.
Right.
Yeah.
You can't charge in.
I mean, I don't know if Chris's characters are ever really that combat. Maybe some of them,
No,
I guess.
might haven't been.
Definitely
Well,
not this early on.
First one. Yeah.
So all we got is Frey, and I feel like Thimbleweed and Celeste like will join, but I don't feel like they are like eager for combat.
Yeah.
Right. Frey's the only like charge into like headlong into battle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing I had in this room is I created a security system that was created by this group, which was a glyph of Thunderwave. I think I might have done it level 3, which is if anybody enters this area, passes by this glyph, and is not carrying Chardolin on them, because all these guys have the Chardolin, then it activates the trap. And I looked at it and I just smiled to myself because the first 2 people in it, I had forgotten Thimbleweed has the arrows, but I remembered that Frey has the dagger, and obviously Edmund is flux full of all the raw Chardolin. So when you entered in, and I tried to telegraph the fact that you saw the glyph like light up and then dim, that you basically passed through it unscathed, and it was wonderful because then as soon as somebody else passes through it, it triggers.
Celeste got to show us.
I think it was just Celeste. They actually got hit by it. Yeah, and then you came up, and I did have rules where, hey, you could examine it, try to figure that out, and you kind of had to like lead it to you. Though I was like, hey, why would it?
Yeah, which I didn't get. I think the rest of the folks got it before I did.
Not the same as Chris, like because we didn't step on it.
Right. I should have. I guess I never mentioned the fact that it was on a wall. I always pictured it on a wall, but I probably didn't mention that fact. But it's actually just on the side, so you like pass by it. But yeah, and then when Thimbleweed went through, I was like, oh well, you're gonna roll it, and he's like, no, I got my arrow. I was like, oh yeah, I totally forgot about the arrows.
It's funny because sometimes I know you just you assumed Reese just wasn't like paying attention.
Or he just
He was like,
heedlessly
yeah,
charged
I'm just
forward.
gonna go in there.
Yeah.
But then Reese is like, nope, I was paying attention again.
Yeah. I've got my arrow. I was like, oh, you sure fucking do. I forgot about that.
Yep.
He spent a number of them in that in the fight last session, but he did still have some.
And he had one. I counted, or I mean, I remember counting as well, but he only used 3 last time
Okay.
out of 4.
So you guys are able to use that to cross it.
that's a
So
pretty
that was
good
another
memory,
interesting
just-
situation where it's like, oh, this is a fight where you guys be triggering this trap, and I was like, oh wait, you actually have like Shardling and just pass around to each other, and once you figure it out pretty quickly.
Right.
But I got to trigger it once. I wish the Mouther had hit at least one time, but you guys played it pretty smart. I think the horror moment still went off decently well.
Yeah, I think so. Especially with just 2 in the room. Like they were just 2 in the room, and they were both in the room.
Yeah.
And like
I was excited about
investigating
that.
the body.
Yeah, because I was like, oh shit, I'm really gonna do some damage here because there's only 2, but I couldn't hit with the damn thing, and then Edmund played it really smart, just got the fuck out of there. That damn flying potion. Which I meant to say, I'm totally willing to house rule the fact that I think it's on a long rest you have to do this, but you can actually roll when you make the potion instead of when you drink the potion. Even though it made it a really exciting moment here, I do think balance-wise, I don't have any problem if we want to change that to where you know ahead of time when you make the potions what you make, right? You still have to roll, but at least you can roll when you make it, and then you can know when you want to drink it.
I mean, yeah, you mentioned before, but you haven't employed it yet, so
yeah,
just got really lucky today.
It was pretty funny. It made for a fun moment.
It would have been a real bummer if you got another healing potion.
Exactly. That's what I'm feeling like.
Real.
That's what reminded me about it. Is like, man, it would suck if he's just drinking these potions. That's your whole signature class thing. So, if we want to do it that way, which I have to you have to remind me how your potion things work, but in terms of how many you can make or how often you can do it. But I would be okay with making that change.
Long rest. Right now, I just have 1 per long rest.
Can you spend like spell slots to make more? Or is there anything like that?
Yeah, you're right. Actually, I forget the rule, but I think I can spend spell slots.
You like 1 free one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. So you still have to roll when you make them, but I would be okay with you rolling, whenever you make them. So I guess whenever a rest happens, kind of similar to like a wizard, like divination die, like, oh, I got to roll my thing, and then knowing ahead of time, like, okay, now I've got a AC potion or something.
Yeah, I've got an 18 and a 3. Waiting for me. Yeah,
I'm totally okay with making that change because I want to see you using these potions. It's your whole thing. So.
No, otherwise, like you roll something else, like, well, there goes my whole.
Yeah.
Plan.
Yeah, that is a bummer. Yep, and then you guys found the prisoners, which I think it was the speaker had alluded to the fact that he wasn't sure about like what happened to the rest of the staff, the serving staff.
Yeah, all servants. Yeah, he said that his guards were in the water.
Yeah,
I did catch on to that. Like,
okay.
The servants were somewhere else, or they weren't dead at least.
Yeah, which was like part 3 of like, okay, we're building up this case of like why we need to defeat this guy.
Right.
Yep. So you guys hit all the things that I expected you to hit. I had planned. Well, you don't really plan a fight, but I had up to this point basically, and then obviously I could run this fight if I needed to. But I think we stopped at a pretty good point.
This is gonna be a tricky fight. I don't know. This is weird. We're in a boat.
Yes.
And they're all
2 of you are flying. You're in a boat. There's a bunch of folks over there. You're not even quite sure what some of these guys are capable of.
Right. We haven't seen any of them actually fight yet.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm pretty excited. You guys are still.
I got some AOE stuff that I can pull out if I need to.
Honestly, I mean, you guys haven't really been tested much this level yet, frankly.
Yeah.
This has not been a big like dungeon area. It's been we had that one thug fight which did certainly lower some hit points and use up a few spells, I think. I don't think the Mouther did anything. So I think all in all, it was only Valravn that spent a few things during the social situation.
Yeah.
But...
So can you tell us exactly how? I mean, since now it's the trap's been pulled, how it was that Kadroth has come like what led to this situation? How he's come down here?
No, I don't think I'll tell you.
Maybe we'll find out later.
Yeah. Mostly just cinematic pacing at this point.
Yeah.
Just he's got eyes and ears all over the place, so presumably he would have you guys followed or keep you guys under watch and generally be suspicious. And as soon as anybody's going in that northwest tower, he's pretty much going to be on high alert.
Yeah. I'm still genuinely bummed that either me or my insight failed me so miserably with that guy. I don't know. I came out of that thinking he was such a good guy.
I loved that you did too. It makes all this so wonderful. I tried to create Shades of Grey. Like, he still generally does support his people, and
sure, but now this is real, like, dark Shades of Grey we're experiencing down here in this dungeon.
Yeah. Well, that's what I tried to even talk about in the journal. It wasn't like he was like an evil mad scientist like Tigger's guy. It's like he was technically trying to like save this guy.
Yeah.
By like, unfortunately it ended up being kind of extreme measure, which was like literally surgically implanting Shardle in his body. But he was like even trying to like fix one of those like whereas like the dwarves you met, like they were just trying to like put that guy out in the wild and just like fend for yourself. Sure. You're crazy. So I try to do a little bit of that, but
I guess if I had asked him like what happened to the speaker's men, and then did an insight check on that, maybe I would have gotten a more accurate read.
Yeah, the one thing when you brought the speaker and you got inside, he was definitely holding something back. So that was, I think, the only tease you had. But yeah, it's definitely fun for the DM with trying to like work around the confines of those high insight checks and all that. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And this is obviously going to be a big climactic moment where we face off, and should be. And this might be one of those cases where like the next session is like all one big battle. I don't know. It depends on how things go. Who the hell knows?
I feel like we both sides have the same advantage, which is everyone's clustered in a very tight space they can't get out of.
A lot of it's going to come down to initiative, I think.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I've got a little monologue plan, because who can't help themselves. There's not gonna be a surprise around here.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll dig into that next time. Anything else about this session of D&D?
I enjoyed the little mini dungeon here. It was neat.
Yeah. This whole area was definitely the most tricky to plan, and the one that I modified the most. Based on changing things around, adding different rooms, and making it more relevant to the general plot, and also relevant to you player characters, specifically your two characters, obviously.
Yeah.
Were all the changes.
It sounds like it was kind of. It sounds like it was kind of a bullshit area in general, outside of the changes you made. So I appreciate you changing it to actually matter.
It's very well. I can go into it maybe a little bit after we finish this area, but it's supposed to be a completely different, not completely different, but a different motivation situation for this organization. Which I think I could probably go into it after we finish it and not spoil anything else. So. Yeah, I think that's gonna do it for Frostside chat this week. Thank you thank you to Chris and Raymond for joining me. Thank you to all the fans for watching. I'm Eric, and we will see you all next week.
See you then.
Bye.